You're listening to the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast.
Good evening. Welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty Show. I'll be your host this week, Kev. You can follow me on X at Dynasty_GOAT. We have got another bumper show like we did last week. We're running it back. We're coming in strong. We have got a full complement of heroes with us tonight. First off, we'll come to Mags, who you can follow on X at Hot Seat Mags. Good evening, Mags. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, Kev. We've got our fingers crossed that my internet is going to make through the show. You know, it's desperate times up here, you know, in Scotland. You know, we've only just invented fire last week, so the internet's kind of new for us up here. So we're hoping for the best.
I love how you're painting the Scots as cavemen and women. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm sure we'll pull through in the clutch. Hopefully your internet doesn't unplant, if you get what I mean. And we're going to come on to our next co-host, Ali, the man himself, who you can follow on Twitter at X at FF Dynasty Grill. Good evening, The Grill. How are you doing?
Good evening, The Goat. Yeah, doing good. Really good. Looking forward to another really fun show tonight. Picking our Unplants. These two are my favourite shows of the year because, especially this year where we don't know who we're picking. Yeah, going to be really spicy. Having a great weekend. We had some more pre-season action last night, so there was stuff to unpick from there. And yeah, it's really exciting. Can't wait for the season to start, but really looking forward to tonight's show and the two amazing guests that we've got on.
Indeed, and I just want to give a quick tease, a quick shout out to a show that us three will be launching in season to complement the Dynasty show. We'll also be running a DFS show, Fantasy Wildcard DFS at Wildcard DFS on X. Please follow it. Please subscribe to it. We're going to be shortening the Dynasty show in season. We're going to be doing the DFS show as well as it. So we're going to win some people some money. I'm very confident of that. We are smart dudes, and we just felt right we needed to share the love and get people in the green. So please do join us on that venture, and it's very exciting times indeed. But enough about that. We've got two superstars on with us tonight. There was on with us last week. They've been on with us loads this summer. They're sick talking to us, actually. So we give a warm wildcard return to Paul Picken and Hannah Rowland, who you can follow on Twitter at Paul Picken and Hannah Rowland, or on X if you are down with the cool kids. Paul, Hannah, good evening.
Ladies first.
Oh, okay then. You start then, Paul.
Okay, thanks for having me. It's awesome to be back. Looking forward to tonight's show. I've spent all day paintballing, so I've had loads of people taking shots at me all day. So I've come on to a show to have you guys take some more shots at me. So why not? Looking forward to it.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this one. I think we were a bit too agreeable with our flag plants last week. I think it's going to be super spicy this week. I think it's just going to be lots of fun. I can't wait. And I'm really excited to speak to you guys again.
It's beautiful, isn't it? And like we've teased there, we're going to be talking about the unplanting of flags tonight. So players we believe will fail to meet their expert consensus ranking in 2023. People that you shouldn't be drafting in your leagues for this season, but also potentially people you want to move off of in Dynasty as well, with a gloomy future outlook. So we're going to come to you, Paul, first. You smashed it last week. Are you going to smash it 2 weeks on the trot? We will see very soon. Who's your first unplant, please, Paul?
So, bit of a disclaimer here. I found this week really difficult. Okay, I found it really difficult to find people that I'm genuinely out on. So when I talk about the people that I'm out on, it's more of a personal thing than it is a statistical thing. So for my first unplant, it is Aaron Jones, the running back from the Green Bay Packers. Okay. Now I will be honest, I did try and find some stats that make him look really bad and make AJ Dillon look even better. but I couldn't really. So, but honestly, we talk about running backs, and we're talking about a guy who, during this season, is going to turn 29. Okay. Now, for I don't know how many years now, it feels like 5 or 6 years, we've talked about Derrick Henry hitting this cliff. Okay. Now, Aaron Jones is going to hit that cliff. He is not a great running back. He's an okay running back. He is. Don't you make me feel you make me feel like I'm being really bad to him. He's okay. And alongside him is Quadzilla. Okay, and AJ Dillon. And last year we had this whole debate. I remember going on a show last year and having a big debate on AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones, and AJ Dillon was going to take over. AJ Dillon is going to do that this year. He's a big lad, he's a good running back, and he's going into a year where he has to try and earn a contract. He's into his last year of his rookie deal, and he's going to be earning a contract. He's going to see more of the ball, he's going to take over this backfield, and he's going to dominate in the Green Bay Packers. So take me apart. Let's go.
Okay, so you're fading the guy on who is being drafted on running back 15 right now, who finished. This is the last 4 finishes of his career. And I haven't had this obviously preloaded because I didn't know who your pick was, but running back 2 in 2019, running back 5 in 2020, running back 13, 2021. And last year, when a lot of people said that Aaron Jones had a down season, running back 9. So that's the guy that you're going to fade at running back 15.
Yes.
I don't mind it, but I do think he's easily running back 15 is going to be where he finishes. AJ Dillon is someone I agree with. I've been touting that I wanted them to give him more work because he does look amazing. He's much bigger back than what Aaron Jones is, and perhaps he'll get more of the goal line work. I know looking at last season, Aaron Jones, despite finishing at RB9, had only 2 rushing touchdowns all season, which was incredible, and 5 receiving touchdowns, so 7 total touchdowns, which was the same amount as AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon had 7 on the ground. I just think it's a bit of a tough fade. I can see why you've gone for it with the age that he'll be 29. The fact that just in my memory, I didn't feel like Aaron Jones dominated like he normally does last season. But then I think coming in, you've got Jordan Love, who can bring a bit of a rushing floor, but that's not his game. I think that him coming in almost as a rookie this year, I think that he's going to check the ball down quite a lot to Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, and therefore that's going to up his floor at least. So I think it's fine. He may finish running back 18, but I think he can still finish as a top 10 running back this season. So I wouldn't be fading him. I think it's a bit of a risk as an unplant, but it's not the worst pick in the world.
Yeah, I think actually I could see him finishing 10 again, not because he's some kind of superstar or not because this is unnecessary, like a bad pick, but actually just looking at the rest of the Green Bay Packers team, it's littered with, these young either rookies or sophomore players. You got Christian Watson, seems to be one of the leaders in the wide receiver room, and he only broke out the last sort of couple of games of last season. You've got other people like Romeo Dobbs is there. You got some of the new guys coming in, some new rookies coming in. You got 2 rookie tight ends coming in. So there's not a lot of season pass catching options for Jordan Love to go to apart from Aaron Jones. And I actually think that receiving option alone might be enough to push him into the top 10 or certainly above running back 15. So Paul, terrible pick. You suck.
I think it's a really interesting one because obviously he's got the track record, and I know age was mentioned as a risk, but I do think it's the offense as a whole that's a risk as well. So redraft wise, this year wise, I think it'll be close. I'll take that he'll finish above that, but I do think in Dynasty, or even if you're doing your charity leagues, etc. If he's your running back 1, I just think there's a lot more risk with an Aaron Jones this year than previous years with the new situation, etc. So, just he's one that I'm not out on, but he fits certain roster builds where if he's running back 1, you best have some pretty decent floors above him, which you probably should actually. So yeah, we're going to move on to our next flag unplant and come to the queen of Fantasy Wildcard, Hannah.
So I'm sticking with the running back theme, and I have gone with Najee Harris, running back of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he's currently going as RB11. So to me, look, I just think Najee, to be honest, is an average running back, and all of his kind of fantasy value is predicated on him getting this high volume. Now, we know he had this fantastic rookie season. He finished as the running back 4 in PPR leagues. But I mean, basically, that was predicated on the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger passing him the ball a million times on checkdowns because he couldn't throw further than 1 yard past the line of scrimmage. So, as soon as Ben Roethlisberger retires, Najee really starts to struggle. Now, I know he had some injuries last season, and I get that people might want to try and say that's the reason why he didn't perform particularly well, but he was below. He had really rubbish average yards per carry, about 3.8, and his rush yards after contact per attempt were only 2.8, which is really low. And his fantasy points over expected were minus 11.8. He just did not perform well. Now, also, we know that Jalen Warren is starting to kind of show something in this team. And towards the back end of last season, we saw him coming in for quite a few more touches than we would have necessarily expected. And already in this preseason, we've seen how explosive he can be. Just yesterday, he did that run, wasn't it 68 yards or something for a touchdown? We just don't see Najee do that. So I think the team are starting to kind of look to make it more of a split backfield. And I think if that is the case, I don't see any way in which Najee is going to pay off this running back 11, opportunity cost, that he has. I would much rather personally take one of the wide receivers around that area than Najee. I'd rather fade the position a bit longer and find someone else who has a bit more upside. I just don't see any upside with him, and I'm not even totally convinced that he'll get to his current state of running back 11.
See, Hannah did the same thing last week as well. You'll notice that her flag plant was my wild card selection for this year in Deontay Johnson, and her first unplant is my unplant from last year, Najee Harris. So she knows exactly what she's talking about. I completely agree. I quite happily unplant Najee again. I can't really add too much to what you said, Hannah. You're absolutely spot on. The emergence of Jalen Warren, just that Najee Harris gets so much and does so little with the amount that he gets. And also, I don't know off the top of my head how old he is, but I know that he, despite being a guy that's only been in the league a few years, he is a much older prospect. I think he's older than Alexander Madison and some other guys that are on second contracts already. So it's not exactly like youth is on his side either. So yeah, running back 11, I think he might struggle to hit that target. So I think you're spot on.
Yeah, I think it's a spot on pick as well. Najee Harris is someone that I've been fading all off season. Running back 14 finish from last season. Didn't back up the running back 3 finish. And the trouble is going from Ben Roethlisberger to the stud Kenny Pickett is that his his targets and receptions went down from 94 in his rookie year targets to 53 in last year, and only 41 receptions as opposed to 74 the year before. So that is the reason why he plummeted from RB3 to RB14, despite seeing pretty much the same amount of carries as he did the previous year. Is really them receptions. And then Jalen Warren steps up in the preseason, looks great. He can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. So it'd be interesting to see how they manage these two running backs. You've obviously added, don't laugh at this, Allen Robinson is obviously in the mix as well. we presume that I told you not to laugh. We presume that George Pickens is going to take a step forward again this season in his second year. So it all comes down to, I think they're going to air it out a bit more. Potentially Najee Harris is going to see the same amount of sort of targets and receptions, which is a lower amount than what we want. And then if Jalen Warren eats into his workload, yeah, the ceiling's not going to be there. Top 5 ceiling isn't there anymore for Najee Harris. So I think it's a great pick at RB11 to unplant your flag on.
Yeah, I mean, I love Kenny Pickett, so you're not going to get me fighting the corner of his running back. So yeah, I think Najee Harris had a bit of fade on this show. I know when Tom Strachan was on last month, he was a Dynasty Celebrist. So yeah, I think a lot of the smart people are off Najee Harris just because he's essentially David Montgomery, but he's got a bit of charisma about him, hasn't he? So we give him a bump up a little bit for that. But yeah, you mentioned then that obviously Najee Harris was part of last year's show as such. We've got a guy coming up for Ali's selection who was also an unplant last year. Who's your pick, Ali?
Is it Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, what? No, it is DK Metcalf at wide receiver. So let's move positions. We're going to go to wide receiver 16, and obviously fading an absolute stud like DK, it comes with its risks. I faded Devontae Adams last year to my peril. But I just think I'm fading him in all formats this year and going to Tyler Lockett. I'd much rather have him at his cost. And it's coming off an okay season. I mean, he did finish at wide receiver 16 last year. He had over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, which was fine. You'd like to see him in double figures. He's also never missed a full game in his career. So again, if you're fading a guy like that, it comes with risk. Look at last year, 25.5% target share, which was 18th highest in the league. That's pretty good. And the offense passed at a rate of 59.35%, which was the 13th highest in the league. We know that is decent numbers, and Gino really surprised a lot of us last year. He was cooking. But who's to say that wasn't Gino's best season we're ever going to have, and that he has some regression come this year? He was incredibly efficient last year. And also, you add into the mix now, you've got JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, an absolute incredible rookie wide receiver, taken in the first round at pick 20. You then got Zach Charbonnet, who's come in, that's now healthy. He looks a really good running back. Really liked him in the rookie draft process. They were both top 52 picks. So this offense is going to look a bit different again this year. So for me, I just think those two, especially Jackson Smith and Jigba, just lowers the ceiling for DK Metcalf. I'm not saying that he's definitely not going to make wide receiver 16, but I think the realms of him finishing as a top 7 or 8 wide receiver, they're not there anymore with these 3 wide receivers. And yeah, so I think it was easy to fade DK Metcalf last year on the back of his lofty ADP. But I've always seen Tyler Lockett to me to be pretty much an equal to DK Metcalf. His figures have been unbelievable. He finishes in the top 15. I think 4 seasons in a row he's finished there, and I'm going to back him again to do it. I've even put money on it with Paul, which I'm going to win. So again, ultimately, I see Metcalf and Lockett as 1A, 1B in this offense. JSN is going to eat into both of their targets. Therefore, it just lowers the ceiling for DK Metcalf. And I'd much rather have Tyler Lockett at wide receiver 28 than I would DK Metcalf at wide receiver 16. I think there's too many risks involved in it. So I'm going to fade him right now. And I think it's a smart bet to make.
So I'm going to love this pick. When my flag plant is JSN and your unplant is DK Metcalf, this is just poetry. You know what I mean? So I do agree with you. I do agree with you that they're all going to eat into his workload. But DK Metcalf at wide receiver 16 is, to me, is a bit of a steal. I think a couple of years ago we were talking about him as he was like sort of like a top 12, even a top 10 wide receiver. And I don't think he's done anything in the last couple of years to say that he isn't that top, a top 12 wide receiver. So I think the fact that he's dropped to wide receiver 16 is probably the point where I'm going, he is probably cheap enough for me to buy now, and I could get him. So to me, I don't know. I kind of like his value at wide receiver 16. So I'm going to slightly disagree with you there, Ali. Sorry.
Do you know what? I've always had a bit of a difficult time with DK Metcalf because he is. So although he finished as a wide receiver 16 overall last season or whatever it was, he actually very much got a boom and bust profile. So like his weekly finishes last season wide receiver 56, wide receiver 61, wide receiver 18, wide receiver 7, wide receiver 13, wide receiver 56, wide receiver 83. Like, for me, in any kind of managed leagues, I just don't think that's a really great profile for someone that you're taking in like round 3 or 4. You know, to me, if I'm taking someone that high, I want someone who I know is going to be a regular contributor and that I can rely on. And I just don't feel that you can rely on DK Metcalf on a weekly basis. Now, I also prefer some of the other wide receivers that go below him. So someone like Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen even. You know, there's a few there that I think will be more regular contributors on a weekly basis and probably have a higher ceiling to finish, higher than their current ADP. I agree with Ali in some respects in the way that, you know, the pie. Everyone loves saying the pie, don't they? But the slice of the pie is going to be smaller. You know, they didn't draft JSN in the first round to sit on the bench for the whole season. You know, he is going to come in. They're probably going to have more 3 wide receiver sets. I think the reason they had 2 wide receiver sets last season, or the last few seasons predominantly, was because they just did not have a 3rd wide receiver. I know they do enjoy playing 2 tight ends, and I'm sure they will, but I think they will do that on a reduced basis at this point. And I agree with Ali, to be honest. I'm kind of out on DK Metcalf, to be honest. He's too boom bust for me. Fine, maybe in a best ball league, but any kind of managed leagues, I just don't really like him because he can really fall flat on his face on some weeks, and he'll lose you some weeks.
Yeah, so DK, obviously, he was an unplant last season. We're not going to name who, Paul, but he did hit last season. He's got a lot to prove again this season. But I think one thing it does tell me from the conversation right there is that Geno Smith, what a steal he's going to be again in all formats this season. He's someone that I'm really into. But coming on to my unplant, this is a guy that I'm really not into at his cost. And that's Darren Waller, tight end 4. Now, you can say I might be cheating a little bit there because he's really high and there's not much scope for him to hit or be above that. But I've got him nowhere near 4 in my redraft rankings, if I'm honest. So this is a guy that's turned 30. He's in a completely new system, new offense with Daniel Jones, who's got question marks as a passer. He's also someone he was last relevant in 2020, 3 seasons ago. So there's a lot going against him. I think there's a lot of risk where you're taking him. And I think game theory-wise, where you're taking your tight end in a league for this season or in Dynasty, I just feel that he's in the wrong spot for me. Like, you want to be, especially leagues this season, you want one of the top 3 if you're just playing for now. Dynasty, again, it's similar, but I don't think Waller gives you that opportunity to be a placeholder and move up with the age. I think if you've got him, you're kind of stuck with him. I can't see anybody moving off, say, Mark Andrews for Waller plus something, because that's no good for them. Maybe a Kelsey on because he's older, but again, you're getting years back, which we've seen Waller's not done anything the last 2 years. He's not consistent, so bit of a cop out with him at tight end 4 for me. So if you do give me a little bit of stick for that, I fully understand.
He's a tough one, isn't he? Because I think, you know, people are excited about him because basically they think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 on this team. They love Brian Daboll. They love what he cooks up. And they feel that he's basically the best pass catcher that they've got. Otherwise, they've got a million slot receivers and no one else. So I can see why people are excited about him. We've talked about this last week as well, and actually Ali and I had a chat about this earlier in the week. You know, look, the tight end landscape is, as we know, a complete shit show. So I think he could really quite easily finish as the tight end 4. I actually don't really have an issue taking him as the tight end 4. I think the issue comes where he goes overall within the draft. You know, at the moment he's going in round 5, you know, and you could at the same time get someone like Jerry Jeudy, Christian Watson. I'm not that into him, but you could, Terry McLaurin, D-Hop, you know, all of these players are around him, and he really has to hit for him to pay off that ADP, I think. So I'm in a bit of 2 minds about Darren Waller, to be honest, because I think if he stays healthy, he probably will be the top pass catcher and he could easily finish as a tight end 4. But I'm not wholly in on him. You know, I'll take a couple of shares, but I won't, you know, take all of them, because I think that there is a risk. There definitely is a risk. We know how injury prone he is. And like you say, he's in a new system, but I think Daboll will scheme him up. It doesn't really matter. So the jury's out there for me, I have to say, Kev. I'm on the fence, which is, a bit too kind to you, but hey.
I love this pick. So I'm going to give you a list of tight ends that I would draft before Darren Waller. Travis Kelce, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson, Evan Engram, and that's when I'd take Darren Waller. I genuinely feel like I'd take all of them before Darren Waller. So at tight end 4, I am with you for an unplant there. I think he is being drafted way too high. If I'm honest, I think everyone is involved with the Giants and thinking they're going to be great. I think Brian Daboll is a great coach, but I just think that I think the Giants maybe have a worse season this season than what they did, and I'm a little bit worried about them all over. And let's be honest, Bellinger's the better tight end.
No way! Can't believe why has he got a mention? Why has he got a mention on this show?
Can we mute him?
Because I can see on the show sheet that Mags doesn't get a say here, and I know if he had a say, he would have said Daniel Bellinger is a better tight end. So, Mags, that one was for you, mate.
Thank you. I completely support that message. That's fantastic.
doing so well to the end then, Paul. But speaking of Mags, we have got your pick now, and it's pretty spicy on this, Mags.
Yeah, absolutely, Kev. London Bridge is burning down, and let me tell you why. Because Drake London is my unplanned for this year. He's currently ranked as the wide receiver 21, I believe, despite finishing as a wide receiver 31 last year with, a huge piece of the pie over at his team. He had a target rate of 32% last year, which was good enough for the second most in the NFL last season. Now, if you factor in the actual catches he made in terms of target rate per catch made, he was the 5th highest in the NFL last year. And that is what...
Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
He's got so excited.
Oh, no.
Intercepted.
Did you lose me?
Yeah, you were ready to nail it, and then...
Good.
Mate, I was smashing it. So I was saying most people are planting their flag on market share for Drake London, and it was working at about 32%.
He's just getting so excited, isn't he? To grief Drake London there.
Man, I'll talk
Shall
slower.
we try one last time?
Even this is the world telling you, Mags, that you shouldn't say this, okay? The fantasy gods are speaking here.
So we know that Mags
Am I live?
You are. You're still here. Or maybe you're not. We'll come to you, Paul. Obviously, Mags is out on Drake London at wide receiver 21. What's your thoughts on that, Paul?
So I'm excited about this Falcons offense. I'm excited to see what they could do. So from a dynasty perspective, I'm not out on him. For a redraft this season, I probably am out on them because I'm excited about their offense, but they haven't got the QB to support all of these players. You know what I mean? I think Kyle Pitts demands targets. Drake London demands targets. Bijan will actually demand targets. You've got so many great pieces there. The one piece they are missing is a QB. So if we're going on this season, it's a great pick. If we're going a future pick, like a... I don't know what he's put up there because he froze again.
London is bad.
But I think if we're going on the basis of the 2023 season, Mags has nailed this pick. I think it's a great pick. If we're going on a dynasty future thing, I'm not out on Drake London. I think if they have a bad season and draft a really good QB next year, we'll all be praising him and wanting him everywhere because if they've got the right QB with him, he could be incredible.
Yeah,
I wish I got to speak on that.
I quite like Drake London, to be honest. Look, I understand what Mags is saying, but by the same token, they had Marcus Mariota, who was like basically the worst quarterback in the league pretty much last season. They threw it at the league's lowest rate, which has to change. There's no way that they will pass as low frequency as they did last season. And I totally get that, Bijan's there and, Kyle Pitts is also going to command targets. But ultimately, I think talent wins out. And I think Drake London will see those targets. He only got 4 receiving touchdowns last season. I think that will rise. So I see him finishing around this, this ADP, to be honest. I don't see him being a wide receiver 1, but wide receiver 21, I could see it.
Yeah, it's so interesting at London. I mean, I knew Paul was going to agree because I think, if I'm not wrong, that Drake London was one of your flag plants last year, Paul. So it's good to see that you're sticking with your boys. I just think it poses the question really about the Falcons, and you've got Bijan, Pitts, and London all going pretty decently in this year's rankings. One of them's not going to hit, in my opinion. It's just which one is it? Could it be London? Could it be Pitts? Could it shock the world and be Bijan? Imagine that. X would freeze. Speaking of X freeze, I'm going to come to your second flag plant, Paul, and this is a deeper one.
So this is you begging me to go deeper again. To be honest, I found this even harder than the first one. But my flag unplant, is Odell Beckham Jr. I know, right? So Odell Beckham, we're all doing this thing where we're going, Odell Beckham is going to be the Odell Beckham that we know and love, and he can make insane one-handed catches on the line of the red zone, and he can do all of these amazing things. Now, he's not played a game since February 2021, okay? Because he obviously had that really bad injury. Now, what we've seen in the past is players they don't come back and they are 100% ready to go week 1. They take their time. They slowly get back into the swing of things. I honestly don't think you see Odell Beckham being what he can be within the first maybe 6 to 9 games. Okay? Now, if you're playing fantasy football, you want players that are going to, they're going to win you games up to week 9. You don't need somebody coming in week 9 and going, oh yeah, we're now going to win you the next 5 games, but you're already out because you've lost the first 9, So to me, I think everyone is just going a bit mental, and they're all going, oh, I love Odell Beckham. I love everything about this. He's in an offense where we know that they rush the ball more. I know they've said they're going to throw it, but is that them blowing smoke, or what's the word? Smoke screen or whatever it is. Are they actually going to rush the ball more as they always do? And if I'm honest, I genuinely think Zay Flowers is going to be more productive than him. And I actually think Rashad Bateman's going to be more productive than him. And I think Mark Andrews is going to be more productive, obviously. So we're talking about the 4th option receiver on this team. I don't want any part of that. I just don't want it. So I'm all out on Odell Beckham.
Yeah, but it's disappointing, really, that I'm going to have to agree with you, Paul, and just say that is. I mean, what is the ceiling really for Odell Beckham at age 30 right now? I don't know when he turns 31. A guy that's coming off major injuries left, right, and centre. A guy that, as you mentioned, could be the 4th target in this offense that historically hasn't passed. Was passed almost the lowest in the NFL, or pretty much near the bottom. We know that Lamar Jackson is a very good passer, and obviously Todd Monken is coming in to be to maybe change that up and be more 50-50. But at wide receiver 60, there's still probably people that I want to take. I mean, there was a few deep flag plants last week that I'd probably look to take over Odell Beckham. I think Zay Flowers is poised for a massive year. Well, probably not massive, but I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, finish higher than a lot of people think. Rashad Bateman, we know he's an incredibly talented wide receiver. If he can stay healthy, I can't see how Odell Beckham finishes ahead of him. I think obviously OBJ looks good in camp, and but he's just had to have a couple of days rest. I think they're going to have to manage his body rather well. So yeah, I mean, wide receiver 60, the ceiling is really, if he stays healthy, the ceiling's wide receiver 45. So I mean, at that point, there's no point at all. I think that there's very much a chance that he has another injury and he misses most of the season. So yeah, it's a good pick for me.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that there's no pathway for him to be a league winner, fantasy relevant of any note. So yeah, I think if you get a couple of injuries in front of him, he's not going to be winning viewership this season. I think his time has gone for OBJ, formerly of the Giants. So we are now going to move on to, we're going to move from one old donkey to a guy that's known as Mr. Buckaroo. So yeah, Hannah, who's your next unplant?
Well, I reckon I'm going to be roasted for this, but I'm doing it anyway. So I'm going to go with Sam Howell, the quarterback. Well, apparently now they named the starting quarterback of the Washington Commanders. So he's currently QB 27 now. I know QB 27 is really low, and if he stays on the field, he probably is going to outperform that. But you can't be QB 27 if you're not on the field. And if I'm honest, yes, he's the starter. And I think in week 1, everyone's going to get really excited because he plays Arizona and he's going to basically run all over them because Arizona are shocking. But ultimately, he's not going to hang on to the job. I do not believe that. Everyone's got so excited. Yeah, he's great. Yay. But in preseason, everyone looks great. Come on now. Apart from Zach Wilson, although he's looking a bit better. I just honestly, I can't. He's a 5th round pick. I can't see him keeping hold of the job. Look, I've got no stats to back it up, but he's barely played so far. This is just personal. I just don't think he's going to keep hold of the job, and you don't finish QB 27 if you're not on the field. Oh, he agrees.
Agreed. Yeah, I was just.
This doesn't do well on a podcast, Mags. You have to talk.
He's agreeing.
Oh, great news! I thought I'd be roasted. Someone else will probably roast me, but
No, I think Jacoby Brissett will start more games than Sam Howell this year.
Yeah, literally for him to be a QB 27, like if he plays all 17, it should be that. But I don't think he's going to play all 17. I call him Mr. Buckaroo because he's someone who should get off. Like when you're playing Buckaroo. Yeah, full agreement. It looks like a love child of Baker Mayfield and Matt Thornton, formerly of Fantasy Wildcard. So that's probably praise for him, actually, because Matt's a good-looking dude. Miss you, Matt. Anyway, we're gonna swiftly move on to Ali's flag plant, and it's a guy I don't think I've ever seen smile, actually.
Yeah, that was funny on draft night, wasn't it? Or the next morning when he was holding up the Detroit Lions shirt and he was looking miserable as sin. But yeah, my deep unplant, unfortunately, is a guy that I love and have a lot of shares of in Dynasty, and it's Jameson Williams. And his ranking is not wide receiver 6 as it says on the screen. Definitely don't take it wide receiver 6. But wide receiver
fully unplanned.
Easiest fade ever, but wide receiver 61, which, I mean, given his talent, he should absolutely smash that. But we're talking about Sam Howell on that last pick, and he needs to be on the field to score fantasy points. Well, obviously, Jameson Williams is not going to be on the field for at least the first 6 games because of that suspension. So he's really on the back foot, but he definitely has the talent to catch up. The only trouble is, I mean, just recently in the news, it just seems to go bad to worse for Jameson Williams, whether it's his attitude, just his performance in camp, and now picking up an injury. And looking on Twitter, or X, should I say, he actually injured both hamstrings. So what that means is he's out of the remainder of the preseason, so he can't get that chemistry again with the quarterback, with the first unit. what it actually also means is he can't actually get treated by the Lions as part of that 6-game suspension. So he has to now go away from the facility and get rehabbed on his own. So he's not actually with the team and he's not even getting treated by the team, which is just, again, it's terrible. It's got him well on the back foot. I mean, he's going to come in week 7. Should he be healthy? We presume that that's quite a way off now that he will be healthy. But the fact is that he's lost so much time in preseason, gelling with his teammates, not getting integrated into this offense, that I just don't think he's going to come in week 7 and just be the guy that we think he's going to be. I think it's going to take, again, a few more weeks to catch up. And by then you're into week 10, you're towards the fantasy playoffs. And I don't see any way that Jameson Williams can be relevant. I mean, if you've drafted a super team and you can stash him away for the run in of the season from week sort of 12 onwards, perhaps he's going to do something there. But for me, it's a heavy void, even at wide receiver 61. I don't think he can come near it now, which again is sad because I've got a lot of shares of him in Dynasty. So I just hope that he comes back and can prove me wrong. But I am fading him at wide receiver 61.
I 100% agree. I've been worried about Jameson Williams all off season, especially since he got that suspension. He hasn't played, he was drafted last year. He didn't play for the whole year. He came in, hopefully he was going to have a full off season, start playing with the team, then obviously get suspended. Now he's got an injury. I'm just worried that his talent is just going to get wasted. By the time he actually sets foot on the field, he's 1.5 years into being an NFL player. I'm just worried that he's going to end up being one of these busts. His talent means he shouldn't, but I just fear he hasn't had enough time on an NFL field for him to become something that we all want him to be. So 100% agree.
I love how you've picked a guy that's missing for 6 weeks. That's pretty smart in my books. But other than that, just Jameson Williams has been a fade for me for a while. I think he's on a dangerous trajectory, actually, with the likes of N'Keal Harry, etc. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out as someone that I have limited amount of exposure to, which is quite funny in a way, but obviously we don't want to see him get injured any further. But yeah, speaking of someone that's been injured, someone that's been on the milk carton, someone that's been stealing a wage the last few years, and he's now a Pittsburgh Steeler. We're talking about a guy that was a flag plant last off-season. He's my flag unplant this year. Allen Robinson, wide receiver 81, that is a low mark to hit, but my thoughts are, prove me wrong, Alan. That's all I've got.
It's do you know what? I think I've been out on Allen Robinson for 3 years now. And every year he has this moment where everyone's like, "Ooh, Allen Robinson's gone to a new team. Let's all draft him again." So, no, you shouldn't draft him. He's dead wood now. I was just looking, and his last 2 finishes was wide receiver 81 and 84. So he's getting worse. And let's be honest, at wide receiver 81, at that point, you should just be drafting running backs anyway and taking a shot on a running back that could hit. Allen Robinson is not going to be fantasy relevant. He's not going to do anything. He's not even going to get a flex play. He's not going to be relevant. And even if there's an injury to one of the wide receivers in that team, you still don't think, "Ooh, Allen Robinson's going to be a guy that jumps up 30, 40 spots." Take a running back at this point, take a punt on a running back and go, "Do you know what? They're one injury away from being relevant." So I'm all with you there, Kev. Allen Robinson, don't draft him.
Yeah, and I think in Dynasty Leagues, he shouldn't be on your bench either. He should be on waivers. He's so far down the list. You don't want to be taking roster clogging your bench with guys like Robinson. That is he ever going to be in your lineup? Unless you're in a Dynasty Best Ball that's got 30 roster spots, he's not. So yeah, if you're in a traditional Dynasty League, he's got to be a fade in my eyes. We're now going to come to our last unplant of the evening. I'm going to come back to the wonderful Mags who's been giving us a bit of a treat bouncing around on that.
You can't even hear me.
Maybe you should announce it, Kev, for him.
Maybe I will. So it actually pains me a little bit because I do like this guy, but I think he's got some major doubts, I think, and it's one and only Parris Campbell. Mm-hmm. So Parris Campbell's going as wide receiver 80 for this season. New team with the Giants, but he's a guy again like Robinson that's had tons of injuries, a lot of risk involved. Wide receiver 80 is a low mark like Robinson, but can he stay healthy? Will he get the targets? Will it be Darren Waller? Probably not. Maybe it will. I don't know. Probably. But yeah, Parris Campbell, wide receiver 80, unplant of Mags.
I do think he might outperform wide receiver 80 if he's on the team, but why would I want him? Who wants, what's the point? Last season, actually, he finished his best season, which was wide receiver 48. But then 2019, 2020, and 21, he was over 150th. I just don't see the upside. Why would I bother? Like Paul said, for the last one, pick a backup running back. Why do you want him? Oh, yay, he's running in the backfield, which was the excitement earlier in the off season. Who cares? They always do this, and then they end up not even being on the field or not doing anything good. What's the point? I think he'll outperform wide receiver 80 probably if he stays healthy, but why do I want him?
Mags has actually got a really cool nickname for him, Parris Cambulance, because he's always injured. So he sent us that from the gods as Mags for that one. So we appreciate the girls there, and I think it's a fair shout with the risk involved with Parris Cambulance. Okay, so we're now going to move on to the Fantasy Wildcard selection, and like we promised, we're giving you a treat this week, not one, but two Fantasy Wildcard selections. So this is where we usually get the guests to pick their Fantasy Wildcard, a player that will improve their dynasty value the most in 2023. But all the guests on tonight's show have already given us their Fantasy Wildcard selection. So has Mags. So that leaves two people, doesn't it, Ali? Who's your Fantasy Wildcard selection for this season?
So I'm going to start off by saying that I am confident that this is going to be a better selection than last season's. Not going to say who I picked because it was terrible and embarrassing. You'll have to go back and try and find out. But this year, I'm also going for running back. We've got running back for the Miami Dolphins, the rookie running back, Devon Achane. And I think he's running back 28. Is it on Keep Trade Cut at the minute, his value? So that's the point I'm going to be speaking on. And not going to lie, this pick did rely on Zeke, the landing spots of Zeke and Dalvin Cook. Obviously, he has avoided that right now. So that is a great sign for his prospect for this season. I know in Dynasty I really like him anyway, but for this season he's avoided that, so I think he can produce and his ceiling is higher this year. And then I went back to the draft and remembering on draft night Mike McDaniel's fist pumping when he made that pick of Devon Achane in the third round. That was pretty epic. And Devon Achane is a guy that I know me, Kevin, Matt really liked us in the rookie draft process. I was taking him a lot in my rookie drafts from picks 110 to 202, 203, 204. I was picking him as much as I could. Really like him for Dynasty. I really think he's got a chance to increase his value this year. At Texas A&M, he was a guy that displayed free down ability despite his small frame at around about 190 pounds. Caught 36 passes last season and also ran for over 1,100 yards. So just showed that he can do it all despite that size. And I just think in this explosive Dolphins offense, I think Devon Achane could be such an incredible, a valuable fantasy piece as early as his rookie season. I think they're going to get him out in space, and it's going to be the fact that it doesn't need to be a running back that touches the ball 20 times a game. He can be effective from as little as I think 10 to 15 touches per game. I think he can still be productive, perhaps in your flex spots for this season, and then going forward. You got to think the two guys for his competition, the veterans. You've got Raheem Mostert and my name is Jeff Wilson, who, let's face it, they're older guys, and they're both incredibly injury prone throughout their career. Decent running backs in their own right when they are healthy, but I think there's going to be a point where at least one of those two guys is going to be injured throughout the season. So Devon Achane is going to step in, and when he does, we've seen what he has done in pre-season. He's looked really good. He's worked as a kick returner, but also on the ground he's looked explosive. I just think this offense is built for someone like Devon Achane to really prosper and thrive. So they're running back 28 on Keep Trade Cut. I think that could easily be inside the top 20 come this time next season, with the fact that Mostert and Wilson not on big contracts, aging running backs. Achane could be the lead guy come next season. So that's my wild card for this year, and hopefully it's going to do a little better than Ronald Jones did last year.
I love that. We're just going to call in Mags for his say first. Bring.
Yes. Love it. Yes, good.
I mean, Ali, you've picked a running back that's literally my most owned running back. I had him as running back free pre-draft. Then everyone got on board with the Dolphins selection, even though it was sort of mid to late round 3. People still got on board with that. But yeah, I do love the pick. I think running back 28 is a steal. I would imagine that's going to rise now that Cook and Elliott are off the board as such. But yeah, I think shoulder injury could be a concern in the short term, but I do love this guy. I can't see him being anywhere near running back 28 this time next offseason. So I'm pretty confident you're going to outdo your Ronald Jones selection. Like if it doesn't, then wow. So yeah, that's a great pick from you, Ali. And we're going to come on to my pick. So I did all right last year with Njoku, but I wanted to go, I guess I wanted to shoot for the moon, and I've picked a guy that's actually in the top 10 at his position. He's the QB8 in Dynasty, so you're thinking there's not a lot of room to grow there, but actually, when you look at the values of quarterbacks, I see this guy following a similar trajectory to Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to say he's going to be that top 3, but I think he will be QB4, QB5 next offseason. It's Justin Fields, QB8, Chicago Bears. I love the fact that the Bears, they had the 101. They could have took any quarterback they wanted. They could have took any player they wanted in the draft. They traded down. They picked up DJ Moore as well as that. So that gives me the confidence that Fields is their guy. It gives me the confidence that they are building around him and supporting him and putting him in the best way to make a go of it. So it's not like the tanking, and I don't think they're going to end up in a position to tank with the NFC North not being one of the strongest divisions in the NFL. Plus, the Bears finished so high up last season, they're going to be playing bottom place teams as part of their schedule for the other divisions this year as well. So really nice schedule, building weapons around him. I mean, what was a QB5, QB6 last season with the rushing? He's got to take a step forward in the passing game with DJ Moore. I just see a ceiling where if he hit, I'm not going to say he's having a Jalen Hurts season last season because it's a different situation, but I think if he can take that passing forward, he should. I've already got him above Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert. Put your things in your ears, Hannah, above Joe Burrow already, just based on upside. So hopefully the market up with me this time next year. We will see.
Above Justin Herbert, that is a bit spicy, Kev, to finish the show, but it's a great pick for me because going back 12 months, as you mentioned, or was it the season before? I can't remember, when a lot of people were doubting Jalen Hurts, Mags, and there's some people saying that he wasn't the best passer. He was fine. He was good for fantasy, but you had to take that leap of faith last off season, and I went all in on Jalen Hurts. He's my most rostered quarterback in Dynasty, so that move has paid off. And I think this is exactly the same situation, although he's not got the elite weapons that Jalen Hurts has got, and he's definitely not got the defense that Jalen Hurts had. But it's the same situation where you got a rushing quarterback. He was a great passer in college, and this is the point where you need to go all in because, if he hits with that rushing, the same rushing he had last year, add in DJ Moore, who was a very good wide receiver, them two look like they've built the chemistry already in preseason. So I'm taking Justin Fields in my redraft leagues this year, just all over the place because of I think he's a value where he is. Slight risk, I think, in just the fact that I think the Bears now they've got expectation to win. So I think that Justin Fields is going to smash it for fantasy. But perhaps if he doesn't take them to the playoffs this year in a weak NFC, then there might be some question marks again come next offseason. But again, I would be taking the chance on Justin Fields because if he has a good season on top of what he done last season, then yeah, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in Dynasty. So the cheapest you're going to get him is now. So yeah, it's a great pick.
We're not sure if Mags is going to agree or disagree, so we're just going to say agree. Right, so that brings us to the end of tonight's show where we've selected our players. We are out on according to their consensus ranking, essentially our flag unplants for 2023. We've had 2 amazing guests on the last couple of weeks, and we're going to get a final shout from them before we close the show tonight. So before you go, please remind the audience, let them know where they can find you and anything that you'd like to plug. We'll start with you first. Ladies first, Paul.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you can find me on X at Paul_Picken or at Wildcard Rewind. And yeah, so I'll just plug our show, Wildcard Rewind. We're back tomorrow night, and we've got our new co-host, Lewis Wood, joining us for the first time. And we are breaking down the NFC and AFC West, I think it is. But yeah, so come and check us out. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so as Paul said, you'll find me with him and our new co-host Lewis at Wildcard Rewind every Monday. But you'll also find me on the 5 Yard Dynasty show every Tuesday as well. And also you can catch me on X at Hannah Rowland.
Well, I absolutely love the hand movements. Anybody that's watching on video, very impressed with that. If you're not watching on video, if you're listening to the podcast, do check out our YouTube. But before we get into the plugs from ourselves at the end, we're just going to come to any final thoughts that you've got on tonight's show, Ali.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to speak on behalf of me and Mags, and I'm just going to say, I definitely am now, to say cheers, Paul and Hannah, for coming on. It's always brilliant, and I really look forward to when we all get together as the Wildcard crew. Yeah, I thought it was a really good show. You two picked some really good people. I couldn't really agree much on it at all, and we're all incredibly smart. So yeah, fade all these people that we've picked tonight. It's been another great show, and can't wait to get together again in the future.
I just want to say thank you so much for having us on too. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier, but we do really appreciate you having us on. You don't have to. I know we're part of the family, so you feel like you've got to get the aunties and uncles and the annoying family in every now and again. But we really enjoy coming on and chatting to you guys.
Less of the annoying, please.
we knew she was on about. But yeah, just echoing what Ali said, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show and to chat with you. 2 of the best people in the community, but also 2 of the most entertaining, great content producers in the community as well. So please make sure you're following both of Paul and Hannah, all the work that they put out as well. 2 amazing individuals who we've been delighted to have on our show the last couple of weeks. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us and subscribe to us on X and YouTube at Fantasy Wildcard, at Wildcard Dynasty, at Wildcard Rewind, at Wildcard DFS. Maybe there'll be some more of that in the future. Watch this space. Join us for our show every Wednesday. Thank you once again. Have a good one. And we'll see you again.